The Caribbean in the 17th century was a place of immense wealth and opportunity. European powers, including Spain, England, and France, established colonies and vied for control of the lucrative trade routes. But amidst this bustling commerce, another force emerged from the shadows: pirates. Among the most notorious of these buccaneers was Captain Henry Morgan, a Welshman whose name would become synonymous with daring raids and political maneuvering. Born into humble beginnings, he rose through the ranks of piracy to become one of the most powerful figures in the Caribbean. This complex and often contradictory figure navigated the treacherous waters of Caribbean politics, leaving an indelible mark on the history of piracy and the fate of nations. Henry Morgan's early life remains shrouded in mystery, with historians debating the exact circumstances of his birth and upbringing. Regardless of his origins, it is clear that young Henry yearned for adventure and a life beyond the confines of his rural upbringing. The allure of the Caribbean, with its promise of riches and excitement, proved irresistible. In the mid-17th century, Morgan set sail for the West Indies, joining the ranks of the many young men seeking their fortunes in this new and untamed world. However, Morgan's ambitions lay beyond the fields and plantations of the Caribbean. The allure of piracy, with its promise of quick riches and unparalleled freedom, proved too strong to resist. The Caribbean of the 17th century was a hotbed of conflict, with European powers constantly vying for control of the region's riches. This volatile environment created a demand for skilled sailors willing to fight, and many young men, including Henry Morgan, found themselves drawn to the life of a privateer. Privateers were essentially legalized pirates, granted letters of marque by their respective governments to attack and plunder enemy ships and settlements. For men like Morgan, privateering offered a way to profit from the chaos of the Caribbean while ostensibly serving the interests of their crown. Morgan quickly proved himself to be a skilled sailor and a fearless fighter, rising through the ranks of the privateer fleet. He participated in numerous raids against Spanish ships and settlements, amassing a small fortune in plundered goods and earning a reputation for his daring and ruthlessness. Morgan's transition from privateer to pirate was a gradual one, marked by a series of increasingly bold and controversial actions. At first, he likely pushed the boundaries of his privateering commission, attacking Spanish ships and settlements that were not explicitly listed as targets. The turning point in Morgan's career came when he launched an unauthorized attack on the Spanish city of Puerto Príncipe in Cuba. The raid was a stunning success, with Morgan and his men capturing a vast amount of treasure and holding the city for ransom. While the attack made Morgan a wealthy man, it also made him a marked man in the eyes of the Spanish authorities. The line between privateer and pirate had been crossed, and Morgan was now fully committed to a life outside the law. The distinction between a privateer and a pirate can be a murky one, especially in the context of the 17th century Caribbean. Privateers operated under the authority of a government-issued letter of marque, which granted them permission to attack and capture enemy ships and settlements during times of war. Pirates, on the other hand, operated outside the law entirely. Morgan's attack on Puerto Príncipe, while strategically brilliant and financially rewarding, clearly crossed the line from privateering into piracy. He had acted without official sanction, targeting a settlement that was not actively engaged in hostilities against the English. This act marked a turning point in his career, cementing his reputation as a bold and ruthless leader willing to operate outside the bounds of law and convention. Emboldened by his success at Puerto Príncipe, Henry Morgan set his sights on even more ambitious targets. His reputation as a shrewd tactician and fearless leader, combined with the promise of untold riches, attracted a growing number of pirates to his flag. It was this potent combination of skill and charisma that would propel him to his most daring and profitable exploit yet, the sacking of Portobello. Located on the Isthmus of Panama, Portobello was a vital hub in the Spanish treasure fleet's route. In 1668, he set sail with a fleet of privateer ships and a force of over 1,400 men, their sights set on the seemingly invincible port city. The city's defenses crumbled, and within days, Portobello lay at the mercy of Morgan and his men. The capture of Portobello sent shockwaves through the Caribbean. Morgan's name became synonymous with daring and ruthlessness, striking fear into the hearts of Spanish colonists and boosting his reputation among his fellow privateers. His ambition, fueled by his success and the promise of even greater riches, led him to contemplate an even more audacious plan: the capture of Panama City. Panama City, located on the Pacific coast of the Isthmus, was a wealthy metropolis, a key conduit for the riches flowing from South America to Spain. Undeterred by the challenges ahead, Morgan began laying the groundwork for his most ambitious expedition yet. He gathered a formidable force, recruiting seasoned buccaneers and adventurers eager for a share of the potential spoils. In December 1670, Morgan set sail from Jamaica with a force of over 1,400 men and 36 ships. After navigating treacherous waters and enduring a grueling march through the jungle, Morgan's forces surprised the Spanish defenders at San Lorenzo, capturing the crucial fort guarding the main route to Panama City. As Morgan's forces approached Panama City, they encountered a desperate but determined Spanish defense. Despite being outnumbered, the Spanish fought fiercely, determined to protect their city from the pirate invaders. However, Morgan's experience, tactical brilliance, and the sheer ferocity of his pirate army proved too much for the defenders. After a brutal battle that raged for hours, Panama City fell to the pirates. The fall of Panama City marked the pinnacle of Henry Morgan's career as a privateer and pirate. The plunder was immense, with Morgan and his men seizing a fortune in gold, silver, jewels, and other valuables. However, the sacking of Panama City also sowed the seeds of change, both for Morgan and the world he operated in. News of the attack and the scale of the destruction reached England, where it was met with a mixture of awe and condemnation. The Spanish crown, outraged by the attack, demanded retribution and compensation. Henry Morgan, the hero of Tortuga and the scourge of Spain, found himself recalled to England to answer for his actions. Upon his return to England in 1672, Henry Morgan found himself in a peculiar position. His daring exploits in the Caribbean, particularly the sacking of Panama City, had made him both a popular hero and a political liability. The English populace, captivated by tales of his daring raids and vast plunder, greeted him with a mix of admiration and awe. However, in the corridors of power, a different sentiment prevailed. The English government, while secretly pleased with the blow Morgan had struck against their Spanish rivals, found itself in a delicate diplomatic situation. The Spanish crown, outraged by the sacking of Panama City, demanded justice and compensation, threatening reprisals if their grievances were ignored. Morgan, accustomed to the lawlessness of the Caribbean, now found himself entangled in the web of English politics. He was summoned to appear before the king and his council, not as a conquering hero, but as an accused pirate, forced to defend his actions and prove his loyalty to the crown. Navigating the treacherous waters of English politics proved to be a different kind of challenge for Henry Morgan, one that required cunning, diplomacy, and a willingness to adapt. To survive in this new arena, Morgan had to prove his loyalty to the crown and demonstrate that he could be a valuable asset to the English Empire. To the surprise of many, Morgan embraced this new role with unexpected zeal. He skillfully deflected accusations of piracy, arguing that he had always acted in the best interests of England and had never attacked Spanish ships or settlements without a valid letter of marque. In a surprising turn of events, Morgan's audacity and his undeniable success in the Caribbean, instead of leading to his downfall, became his greatest assets. The English crown, recognizing his strategic brilliance and his influence over the unruly privateer community, saw an opportunity to utilize his unique skills for their own benefit. The iron fist in a velvet glove governing Jamaica. In 1674, just 2 years after his arrival in England as an accused pirate, Henry Morgan was appointed Lieutenant Governor of Jamaica. He returned to the Caribbean not as a rogue captain but as a representative of the English crown, tasked with maintaining order, promoting trade, and defending the island. Morgan embraced his new role with the same energy and ruthlessness of his piratical career. He cracked down on piracy, recognizing that unchecked lawlessness threatened the island's stability. His rule, though often harsh, was effective, ushering in a period of relative peace and prosperity for Jamaica. The shifting sands of power. The life of a former pirate turned lieutenant governor was not without its challenges. The Caribbean remained a volatile region, with international tensions simmering. Morgan's past, though officially pardoned, continued to cast a long shadow. The English crown saw Morgan as a useful but ultimately expendable asset. His usefulness lay in his ability to control the unruly elements of Jamaican society. However, his past as a pirate made him a liability. As the political winds shifted, Morgan found himself increasingly isolated. A quiet life, or not. As the years passed and his health declined, Morgan withdrew from public life, seeking solace in his plantation and the company of his wife Mary. He had amassed a considerable fortune during his years as a privateer and governor, and he now devoted his time to managing his estates and enjoying the fruits of his labors. He was a far cry from the swashbuckling pirate captain who had once terrorized the Spanish Main, yet rumors persisted that Morgan had not entirely abandoned his old ways. Some whispered that he secretly financed privateering expeditions, while others claimed that he still held clandestine meetings with notorious pirates, plotting new adventures and sharing tales of past glories. Whether these rumors were true or simply the product of an overactive imagination is a matter of speculation. What is certain is that Morgan remained a figure of fascination and controversy until his death in 1688. He died a wealthy and respected man, but his legacy remained complex and contested. Henry Morgan's story is a tale of ambition, ruthlessness, and an uncanny ability to adapt to changing circumstances. He was a product of his time, a man who rose from obscurity to become one of the most feared and respected figures in the Caribbean, a region where the lines between legality and piracy were often blurred. He was a skilled sailor, a brilliant tactician, and a charismatic leader who inspired both loyalty and fear. His exploits captured the imagination of his contemporaries and have continued to fascinate historians and storytellers for centuries. He embodied the spirit of adventure and the allure of the unknown that drew so many to the New World. Yet Morgan was also a complex and contradictory figure. He was a ruthless pirate who amassed a fortune through violence and plunder. Yet he also served as a governor, responsible for maintaining order and upholding the law. He was a loyal subject of the English crown, yet he often acted independently, pursuing his own agenda and defying the orders of his superiors. Henry Morgan's death in 1688 marked the end of an era in the Caribbean. The buccaneering age, a time of rampant piracy and daring raids, was drawing to a close. European powers were beginning to assert greater control over their colonies and crack down on piracy. Tortuga and Port Royal, once lawless havens, were transformed into more orderly outposts of empire. Morgan's story, from pirate captain to knighted governor, mirrored this transformation. He rose to prominence through daring and ruthlessness, exploiting the chaos of the Caribbean. Yet he adapted, transforming from outlaw to enforcer, embracing the laws he once flouted. Henry Morgan's legacy remains as complex and contradictory as the man himself. He is remembered as both a daring hero and a ruthless villain. His name conjures up images of swashbuckling adventure, but it is also linked to the destruction and suffering inflicted on Spanish settlements. In England, he was celebrated as a national hero, a man who had struck a blow against the hated Spanish. His exploits were immortalized in popular literature and song. Yet, even in England, there were those who recognized the darker side of his legacy. Despite the controversy surrounding his life and actions, Henry Morgan remains a figure of enduring fascination. His story, with its blend of adventure, ambition, and moral ambiguity, continues to capture the imagination, inspiring books, films, and countless tales of high-seas adventure. Perhaps the enduring allure of Henry Morgan lies in his embodiment of the contradictions inherent in human nature. He was a man capable of great brutality and surprising generosity, a ruthless pragmatist who nonetheless adhered to a personal code of honor. He was a product of his time, yet he also helped to shape it, leaving an indelible mark on the history of the Caribbean and the world's perception of piracy. Morgan's story reminds us that history is rarely black and white, and even the most infamous figures are capable of surprising complexity. It is a story that continues to resonate, not because it provides easy answers, but because it forces us to confront the enduring questions about ambition, morality, and the nature of heroism in a world often defined by its shades of gray. If you enjoyed this journey into the life of Henry Morgan, please like this video, subscribe to Untold Past, and ring the notification bell to stay updated with our latest stories.